I think what we've learned is that all too often we can get into a rut. We've done business with the First Nations for 30 years. They've provided services, they joint venture, and then in 5 years later we realize, okay, this isn't working for them. And their revenues are fluctuating huge. In fact, one of the chiefs recently said that their revenue essentially was cut in half through this recent downturn. You can imagine what that means for their First Nations, so that they aren't getting the cash out. And so if we were running the city of Calgary and all of a sudden our revenue cut in half, what do you do? Like, you have to get rid of services and resources, and you can't provide programs, and you may have to shut down infrastructure. That's what the First Nations are dealing with every single year, is they're up and down and all over the place. So they're trying to provide that fixed and stable revenue. And so we've learned a lot about, maybe we should consider things that are different.
I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we sat down with the VP, Mark Little of Suncor. And at the time, we presented to him that we needed more of opportunities, more, benefits to the nation, long-term partnerships, even looking at a percentage of, owner of Suncor. How could that look like? When he came back with this, proposal that we can be a partner in this East Tank Farm.
I think it's a great thing for us, for my First Nation. I'm really impressed with what they did. Yeah, even the group of Lake Suncor, we worked with them for a lot of years. And for the last 40 some odd years, and we're still having a good partnership with them. And this actually is a clincher for myself and my First Nation.
This is the first time we've gone directly in partnership with the First Nation, so this is very different, and we're going to jointly own an asset together. And so it's very exciting, and it's kind of a whole breakthrough in our relationship.
The East Tank Farm is located about 35 kilometers north of Fort McMurray and is just south of Suncor's oil sands base facility. The East Tank Farm is a tank terminal that is being constructed to provide bitumen, storage, cooling, and blending facilities for the Fort Hills Oil Sands project. This facility includes 7 new product tanks that are used to store the product, heat exchangers that are used to cool the bitumen. It also includes 2 vapor combustion units that are used to handle the gases from the tank. And there are some power and utilities interconnects that are being built as part of the facility, as well as interconnects with the various pipeline companies, including TransCanada and Enbridge. When the bitumen is received at the East Tank Farm, it'll come in at about 100 degrees Celsius, and it is then cooled down to about 40 degrees Celsius, at which point the bitumen is blended with diluent that we receive from the Enbridge Norlite pipeline. The mix of these 2 products makes diluted bitumen, which is then pumped down the Enbridge Wood Buffalo pipeline on the way to market. Suncor has joined with Fort McKay First Nations and Mikisew Cree First Nation to be owners of this new tank farm under the name Thabacha. And in this partner arrangement, Suncor will own 51% of the East Tank Farm, and the First Nation partners will own 49% of the East Tank Farm.
We're going to go into a long-term partnership, and we'll work together and own this asset. The initial term is 25 years, and we expect that to extend well beyond and could go as long as 50 years. We're going to have the largest bond for a First Nation in Canadian history, and they will issue this bond, raise money, and set an interest rate essentially for the entire 25-year period, and it will generate income on a steady way, independent of fluctuations in the industry and such, for 25 years to fund their programs and education and health care and care for their elders and those sorts of things. So it's very exciting.
In anything you do, in any relationship you have, trust is number one. I have full trust in what's happening and this relationship we have with Fort McKay, and hopefully that other First Nations will benefit in the future after they see what's happening here.
I think it's very, very important that First Nations start working together in doing things that will benefit the nations, the people as a whole. And also with now going back with industry where Suncor, the partnership with Suncor is very important because that gives us the tangible asset that we have been looking for in being able to complement the programs, the projects that MCFN has as a whole to be able to sustain the people today and into the future.
There's money that's coming in, will be coming into our nation. That's not. There's no strings attached. It is an opportunity for our people to think outside of the box, kind of thing. This is not a federal dollars we're talking about. This is money that it's going to allow us to be able to make better decisions in the future. So that's one of the most important things.
You know, I have 3,000 members in my Mikisew Cree, and we look at all that and we say, how many young people do we have? And our priority right now is put them through education, and hopefully that they can go further into further training, whether they go into the apprenticeships or university levels.
It will be able to address the health issues and housing issues, and social problems are always going to be there, but at least we'll be able to have a better opportunity to find ways how we can keep our young people focused on their own career paths.
We will also look at the aspects of our culture, how we deal with that, and we don't want to lose that. That's one thing that's really high priority. You know, we want to be able to get back our language, which we lost over the years. There's a lot of things I'd like to do. It's from my point of view, I think it will benefit this First Nation tremendously.
We always talk about certainty. You know, this is certainty for us. Probably a lot greater certainty than any other company has given us so far to date.
I have a great-grandson who's 4-year-old, and I wish I had a crystal ball in front of me, and this is what I would wish for him, to be able to sustain his life, both our way of life and with the mainstream society where he's able to connect the both worlds together with ease.
We can't stay, everything status quo and think that it'll go away and we'll be back to where we were. We have to adapt to the changes, and we can't sit back and wait for anybody to do that for us. We have to do it ourselves.
In the earlier years that I remember, there used to be the sawmills along the Peace River, just north of here, and they employed a lot of people as well in the sawmills. So a person can work either summer and winter, or work all summer and trap all winter, but as long as the trapping season was open. So that was a good income for both ways, and people lived well. And when I left here in 72, some people were still trapping, but it's already starting to dwindle down. But the land is very important to our people, and as much as they want to be out in the land, but there's no income. You got to have gas. You got to buy everything all the time to get to the land, and if you're not employed or don't have a steady income, it's very hard to get back to your land. Now that I've just recently retired about a couple of years ago, and I came back to the land because this is where I enjoy the most, living out in my land. Pogo kanigi wak tawichi ko ogot takaskitai.
Our way of life that we've known is no longer, and the future is going to be different. That we have to make changes for our future generations to be able to move forward and live better lives and better opportunities.
Right now, I wouldn't say we're stagnant. We have some good professional people too in my First Nation, but we need more. We got to have capacity. That's, I think, this year, and I know, I shouldn't think, I know that this deal or this partnership will make that happen.